We were just kind of reading about the history of the vice office of the vice president of the United States,
Right.
and some people might be confused because Kamala Harris is current vice president. She is the 49th
Right.
vice president of the United States, and you might be scratching your head and go, "Wait a minute, Biden is
46.
46, so how's Kamala 48?"
Yeah.
But you got to kind of read back through the history of the office and when the modern vice presidency was created, because you were telling me in the early days,
Right.
when the Electoral College met and voted, they had two choices, or they had the choices and they had to pick their choices, and the one that got the most votes became the president, and the one that got the second number of votes became the vice president.
Yeah.
So they didn't even run as a ticket at
Didn't
that
even
time.
run. And I think a lot of folks don't know that. There was never a ticket back then. There wasn't a Trump-Pence. It was a fill in the blank and
Yeah.
whoever else run against them. So
Yeah, so it's interesting stuff. But yeah, if anybody's confused as to why the numbers don't match up,
yeah.
and then Lincoln had two vice presidents during
Right.
his term in office, and we were looking it up. FDR had three
Right.
different vice presidents during
Which
his
then
term in
makes me
office.
wonder how we only have three different.
How are we at 49? Yeah.
So
You have to do some more reading. Yeah, Harry Truman was not the vice president for all four terms of office. He was the
Right.
vice president during the fourth term of
Yeah.
FDR. And when FDR passed away, Truman became the president, dropped the bomb on Japan, and we won the war.
there you go.
And then he went back and run his hat store.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into the city council, and what were some of the things the council worked on last night?
So lots of good information last night. Especially John Aguiano had a lot of interesting stuff coming up. I mean, everybody did, but he had a whole list and stuff that are really affecting people out there. So I can run through those real quick.
Sure.
So obviously that 20th Street project, we did finally move. Grand is open. That second phase has started. The rain obviously makes everything very muddy. So that'll slow it down a little bit, but I don't know that I would call it a delay. It's maybe a bit of a slowdown, but we are having a lot of working on alleys. Because of those, we're trying to shore up some alleys where people are maybe traveling a little heavier. So they've been working really hard on that. He was mentioning that we've got a bunch of extra millings, and those millings are what we put into the alleys. And so we're going to be able to, now that the summer's kind of winding down, so we're not going to be focused. Obviously, you're not going to have to mow as much, and there's some things that we might be able to pull off of there. We can start focusing on what I guess we would call winter projects or more of that zone. So we're really going to push alleys. So if your alley's bad, we get it. We're hopefully going to get to a lot of them. Can't get to all of them, obviously, at one time, but they're going to try to start focusing on that quite a bit. Some interesting things. I know we've talked a lot about the tree projects. They finally got that all done. We've kind of trimmed up the draw pretty well. Looks really great as well. If you haven't driven it, drive it. They moved over to Center Park.
Central Park?
Central
This one
Park.
over here?
Central Park. Yeah.
Okay.
That park. And they started those. He says, unfortunately, we're going to probably lose about 8 trees because they're hollowed out, and unfortunately, we'll have to take those down. So you'll see them there for a while, and from there they'll move to Davis. So, and then from there, he's got them going hopefully back to the museum to do some tree there. So still got lots and lots of tree work. Unfortunately, we haven't got to it very often in the recent past or even in the past. So we got to catch up on those, make our trees healthy.
8 trees, a lot of trees in Central
8 trees
Park.
is a lot of trees. So
Are they going to replant them?
yeah, so Byron and John always say, take a tree, plant a tree. So anytime that we're going to have to bring one down, we do try to make sure that we plant one in its place to fill that void, I guess we'd call it,
Okay.
to bring them back. So yeah, unfortunately, and there's some big old trees in there, and I guess that's just, I'm not a tree expert, but seems to be when they're big and old, sometimes that happens. So
hopefully the city's hired a tree expert to make good recommendations.
We have definitely hired the tree expert to go make those and help us get through all that to make sure. Another interesting fact, it doesn't really affect a whole lot, but there's only 12 stoplights. I didn't realize that in the city of Artesia. I always thought there'd be way more than that, but
12 lights themselves or just intersections?
12 intersections with lights.
Okay.
So 9 of them are owned by the state, 3 of them by the city. But basically, even the ones that the city owns, they're still controlled by the state. So there's a lot of stuff you have to do to make them work the way they want them to. But I thought that was kind of interesting. It's one of those fun facts, right? So on trivia night, now y'all know Artesia has 12 lights, so you could be the winner. And you could just say it's because of John A. and his information. So you're welcome. Oh, nope, that was a lot of good stuff. So just a lot of random comments like that. Infrastructure committee met a while back, right there at Richardson. Richie, I've lost all my words today. Right there at the Allsups and the John Deere. That's Richie.
That's Richie.
Because I lived on it. So
Are you okay?
I'm not okay sometimes. There's too many words in my brain. But right there at Richie, where that stoplight is, obviously we've put a fence up along the BNSF there. And it was just a wire. Well, those unfortunately are getting cut. We've seen that our PSA's out there saying, hey, let us know who's cutting those, who's cutting the trees. I mean, we're having some things there. So what we're going to do is put a 6-foot chain link fence. So obviously it's a lot harder to cut, a lot harder to deal with, be about 500 foot long. Reason it is that length is we really want people to go to the intersection to cross.
Whether it's walking or vehicle.
Vehicles, car, or bikes, it doesn't matter. Please go to the intersection to cross. It's very, very dangerous. Obviously, I think you're at 60 at that point, or you're getting pretty close to 60, but your high speeds are going through there. You need to be at the intersection to cross. You see people out there darting across, and it just makes you cringe every time because you don't want any accidents,
right?
For anybody. So we're trying to get that movement all the way to the intersection and not crossing where it's not supposed to. Plus, we're hoping that will help maybe knock down some of the folks that are trying to knock down the trees and everything else.
Yeah,
so that'll be another big thing that we're going to have going very soon. What else did we talk about? We talked about a whole lot of different things throughout the meeting. But lots of good stuff happening in Artesia, and it's still going to continue to focus around parks right now, trying to finish those up. Like I said, now with the season kind of winding down, we're kind of at that spot.
Let me ask you this, because you've mentioned this before, that the city has big plans for, say, J.C. Park, and there's been a lot of things that have been done
absolutely
at J.C. Park. We've recently been a little bit involved with some of the youth, the Recreation League football, and the beautiful soccer, football complex that's out there, part of the park now. And there's all these beautiful poles with places for lights. And there's all these spaces with PVC pipe coming up out of the ground that I'm assuming are places for bathrooms.
Right.
Can you kind of give us an update on what the Recreation Committee is working on and what the city's looking at as far as adding to those foundations that are already there at that park?
We're working really hard to get those things finished. I couldn't tell you right now exactly where we are, how close we are to getting those finished. I know that we've been putting a lot of work towards them. Getting our ideas, getting some folks that could finish those bathrooms, what it would cost, all those good things, and trying to put that in place. Working with some folks out there who would like to help us finish those projects. The lighting, we've talked a lot about it. I haven't seen a number, so I think they're working on it.
Because they're expensive to buy, and then you got to pay to... we just talked about electricity.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last segment.
And look out there. I was at the softball fields again Monday for some stuff, and one of those lights went out. One of the whole fields went out, and I guess that's just a running deal to where, John said we're going to have to take each light pole down, turn it back on, and see which one finally pops the breaker. So we can find out, okay, it's that light pole. And then we've got to figure out where those wires run. And so, there's a lot of things that go into those light poles and everything else. I would hope if we're going to put lights on those light poles, we really look at where you're seeing a lot of the new stadiums with those LED lights. Hey, they last a lot longer, a lot cleaner light, and a lot easier to flip on and off. Whereas, when we did have that issue on Monday night, when they had to kill it all, it takes like 10 or 15 minutes for them to cool down and then to warm back up to turn lights on. So it is a long process to get those lights off and back on, and so it would be nice to look at. Maybe try to,
because that's so popular a park now. And then you hear people saying, well, I'm going to be late because I can't get out of the park because everybody's there, and so you've got traffic concerns that you're trying to figure out as well.
Lots of moving parts. The one way I think will work at some point. It's just everybody getting used to it. I understand change is sometimes difficult. I do think I've been out there the last couple Mondays, and I was able to flow around pretty easily. Once you're like, okay, this is how we get there. It hopefully will help that traffic move a lot better and safer, and get that parking. There's some other things I know a lot of folks have reached out to me about, the handicap parking and accessibility. And so those are things that I've talked with Byron and John about, and we'll be working on those too to try to make it easier, because we want everybody that wants to go to the game to go to the game.
Yeah.
The good thing for us right now, because of you, is if you can't go to the game, you can watch the game. So there are other means to do it, which is wonderful. But obviously being out there, for folks, even if you don't have kids playing, go out to JC Park on a Monday night. 5:30, 5:45 seems to really kick everything off, and
Yep.
it's fun.
Yeah.
There's a ton of folks out there playing, having a good time on softball, on football, and I know soccer's not happening at that time, but I was watching. There was a bunch of kids down there kicking the soccer ball. I mean, it is a busy, busy park, which is what you want. The whole
Right.
goal of having a great park is to have folks out there utilizing it, and I would say that is a utilized park.
In the springtime, you've got youth baseball
Yep.
that goes on, and then you've got
Yeah.
the softball leagues that utilize the fields out there. So
Yeah.
it's a very and then people just go out there to walk.
Lots of people, even on those Monday nights, they're using that. I think they're out there because all the people, and they're walking around the park or the walking track, and it's just. And then soon, like I said, last time we've got a lot of the dog park pieces in.
Okay.
Waiting on a few more. So soon you'll have the dog park out there. I mean, lots and lots of activity out there. So please go utilize that park.
Yeah, great. Got about 3 minutes left. Are there some other items from last night that you'd like to share?
Oh, one of the big ones that I'm really proud of is our investing.
Okay.
So really, thank goodness, we've got two folks on the budget committee that really understand investing, and then Summer did a lot of work to figure out how we can invest it better. So between the three of them, we've been able to move our investments into where, on average, the city's making about $175,000 to $200,000 a year off our investments now. Which, for those that don't understand why we invest, all basically governments invest because you've got to have it somewhere safe. And so investments are safer to keep the money, and then as we need it, as those come due, we can pull them out and use it. So it's not like it's locked down and we can't access the money. So let me start with that. But we put our money in these safe investments, and they're very, very strictly regulated by DFA and by the state. And so you can't just really. So with their hard work and diligence, so like I said, we're making probably 175 to 200. With the work they've done, we expect to make in the next year's investments 1.5 million.
Oh, wow. That's
Yes.
a huge improvement.
Huge improvement. So, if you do that year over year over year, that's an extra $1.5 million that we would have every year to dump right back into
You could
the
fix a water park with some of that money there.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, that's it. And that's really the whole goal is, folks, well, you can't just keep spending money. And we totally understand that and agree with that. But if we're using that money to fix things that are bringing us more money or bringing us recognition to the town, it is bringing us more money. And I think that's our objective is how do we increase those GRTs to where they're a little more stable? How do we increase our property taxes? Not by increasing the tax, but by increasing the use of land so that you would have a higher rate brought back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So folks, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. We have no intention to increase taxes, but we can increase those by having more of it.
Right. And then
more
if you-
utilization.
And if you do better with the investments, that's just more money that's
just
available.
more money. So as more money comes available, you're able to do more things for the citizens, which is the whole goal. I mean, all the money the government has, I don't care what level you're at, that's our money, right? That's the citizens' money. We paid the taxes to get it there. To me, it's crucial we put that right back into the city and invest in the city, meaning roads, parks, things to do, because it's there. That's what it's there for. We're there to better the lives of the citizens. That's the goal of a government. Should be. Sometimes I wonder
That's
across
true.
the board, but that should
Yeah.
be the goal. So huge investment news. Very excited about that, and because a couple city council members in summer took it upon themselves and did a great job.
Well, thumbs up. Oh, wait a minute. It means I'm old if I do a thumbs up, so I can't
Oh, does it?
do that anymore. Yeah.
Dang it, I'm old. I didn't think I was.
All right, Mayor. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, sir.
All right, we're going to go to the news.